Class D on the.
As this podcast continues to grow, I wanted to develop the personality of who I am. And one of the things that I am, and I believe I'm pretty decent at, is being a teacher. I like to pay attention to events. And one event that really caught my attention was in 2019 in Ghana, the year of the return. It marked 400 years of the first slaves leaving Africa and entering Jamestown in the United States. Today, contributing to give a firsthand account of being a Ghanaian and what it's like to be in Ghana is Razak Salifu. He is currently a professor for business professionals at Mariana University in Colombia, and he's going to give you insight about Ghana, the people, the history, and just what it's like to be an African looking outside. So, without further ado, let's go. Today's episode is sponsored by Maze Concepts, home of the excited accountant. You can count on him. You can visit him at his Mint Hill, North Carolina location. Visit him on the web at www.mazeconceptsllc.com or check out their new app at mazeconcepts.app. And today on Voices, I have a near and dear friend to my heart. We met here in Colombia because, when you take yourself abroad, it teaches you things. And because the focus is going abroad, I wanted to have a discussion specifically about Ghana, the year of the return, which was in 2019, and it has a significant historical context. And so joining me today is my boy Razak, and I thank you for being here today, sir. And no person can introduce themselves better than themselves, so I'm going to let you introduce yourself before we get started.
Edman, I'm Razak from Ghana, West Africa. I live in Colombia now. I met Luis out here in Colombia, his family now. I live in the south of Colombia, down south in Colombia. And yeah, I guess that's it for now.
And thank you, man. The coolest thing about being in Colombia when we came a part of the program is just the international feel and connections that you make from doing the program that we did. And so that's why I think this topic of Ghana, the year of the return, which was 2019, is really, really cool. So before I ask you the first question, just a quick backstory to what the year 2019 was for Ghana. The year of the return in 2019 marked 400 years from the date that the first African slave landed in Jamestown, Virginia, in the United States to start slavery proper slavery in the United States. So that's why they chose 2019 as the year of return. So got to start the questions with the simplest one. Where in Ghana are you from?
Okay, I'm from a city called Tamale, like tamales, but without the S. It's like in the north of Ghana. It's the capital of the northern part of Ghana. So it's a huge city with lots of diverse ethnic groups. Like my city alone has like more than 20 languages indigenous being spoken out in my city. It's the savannah, so it's like lots of dry land, lots of flat land, and yeah, that's it. It's called tamale without like tamales, but without the S.
Well, that connects really well with the Spanish thing that we got going on, as we all
Yes, sir.
are language
Yes,
learners. So because of that, and you were in a pretty big city, what was it like growing up there?
growing up was interesting because it was a city divided, not divided in a bad way, but like divided by religion. We had like 50% of the people were Muslims, and the other like 50% were like Catholics. You know what I mean? So it was a healthy a healthy union. Like it was a healthy union in the sense that when it's Christmas time, for example, Christians share their food and stuff with their Muslim brothers. When the Muslims celebrate their like Eids and stuff, they give us their meat and stuff. So it was nice growing up in a very diverse environment as well. But I grew up in a Catholic home. We have like the British system of education as well. So we have like primary school, secondary school, university. We don't have like high school and stuff back home. And yeah, I think that should be it for now, bro. It was nice growing up in Tamale. It was very interesting, but also because of the diversity of languages and religion, I got to experience like different aspects of these cultures with religion as well. Like I have lots of Muslim brothers who eat pork, for example. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And you get to know that people from other religions like are really nice and really welcoming and really accommodating. Like it's not what people make us think about that. For example, Muslims just like people tag Muslims in a certain way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but no, it was like a healthy union of these two religions and cultures growing up. So it was very interesting. It was quite interesting.
You know what's interesting is that that means that tamal or tamale, right?
Tamale,
Tamal
tamale.
tamale probably was a pretty good example where they could probably do a documentary or some sort of showing Christians and Muslims living together and sort of coexisting. It probably could be an example. So going past the year of return, it could be an example of diverse religious coexistence.
No, most definitely. Like there are times growing up when Muslims have their Ramadan, right? Ramadan is when they fast for like 30 days and stuff.
Right.
And then when they break their fast, they break it with like fruits and special food and stuff. And they're like countless times they'll just invite us over to just come break their fast with them without us even fasting. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think most definitely it would be really positive to show that kind of healthy relationship to the world. Make a documentary and stuff would be really positive.
You know what I think is cool is especially just showing kind of the world. It then leads me to like what the world thought of Africa, and because Africa is a continent and it's often misconstrued and convoluted as one nation and thinking the whole continent is one thing. So with that, I know because outside people have opinions like that. What was the opinion in general, like in the culture and society of Black Americans and other Blacks that lived in other countries? Like, what was the opinion of them?
Most people thought, like you said, most people thought that Africa is just one nation, and we're all like in war, hunger. We didn't have enough food. We lived on trees. Like, like even when I got here, people asked me, if I had like an elephant as a pet, if I had like a
What?
lion as a pet, you know what I mean? And this is in this century, the 21st century, bro. And I just felt I wouldn't say I felt bad. I just didn't feel that people were enlightened enough about the continent of Africa, because Africa is huge. It has 54 different countries, and each country is diverse. Like just Ghana alone has more than 100 ethnic groups. You know what I mean?
That,
And so what?
yeah,
Yeah,
wow.
bro. Yeah, bro. It's really diverse. Like you move like 5 kilometers and you meet a different group of people eating different food, speaking a different language. You know what I mean? But then most people outside, most Black people outside, still think that Africa is one nation and we are all suffering, we're all in poverty and hunger and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So yeah,
So,
yeah.
so what did you guys think of, or well, you and maybe in your personal social circle, what did you think about the people, the black people in the United States or Canada or in the Caribbean? What was your opinion?
No, we saw them as who they were. We saw, for example, black people in United States. We just considered them as Americans. You know, we didn't even consider them as Africans because they are Americans. You know, and like
Right.
we just thought of them as Canadians. You know, because that's what they are. That's what originally we are all from the continent, but we just saw them as who they were. You know, we didn't try we didn't try to make them look like they were from Africa. No, not once. We always just saw them as who they were, like where they were from and who they were. You know what I mean?
And that's a really interesting dynamic because some people disagree with my sort of concept of the term African American, which I personally disagree with, and I think Black American is more correct. But I mean, it's neither here nor there because it's my opinion. I'm
Yeah.
not going to tell anyone else they're wrong. But with that, did you know the opinions? I mean, because it sounds like you knew some know the opinions of and the false narratives that many nations outside of the continent had about Africa, and how did it make you feel? Because I mean, just imagine knowing people think about you in a way that is totally not you.
No, bro. Like growing up, we had folks who had family like outside of Africa, like in the States, in Canada and stuff. Like sometimes they would visit us, and then they would be surprised that we had we had internet, we had phones and
What?
stuff. You know what I mean? They'll be surprised that we had TVs and stuff. They'll be surprised that we watched CNN and Al Jazeera and stuff. And honestly, it made us feel bad because we didn't think like being kids and growing up and all that. We didn't think that that's what people out there thought about us. You know what I mean? Because
And you know,
we growing up as kids,
oh, go ahead, go ahead. I'm sorry.
like growing up as kids, we would watch TV, we would watch movies, and we just thought that, oh, these guys also watch news and stuff. But then we didn't know that the media always projects what they want, the negative aspects, you know, what suits them, you know what I mean? So I don't really blame the other thing, I don't really blame like people in the diaspora and stuff who think that we are still living like in trees and mud huts and stuff because it's the media, but the media chooses what to show. You know, like the media just picks like a village somewhere in a country in Africa. Obviously, we still have undeveloped areas, lots of undeveloped areas and stuff, people suffering and stuff, but then they just pick that one aspect and they put it on the news, and then that's what everyone sees. So honestly, yeah, we felt really bad. Like there'll be kids who would come to and they'll be like, "Oh, you have a TV. Oh, you have electricity."
So disrespectful, man.
You know,
Jesus.
no, but then that's the thing. It wasn't because they wanted to be disrespectful, just because they grew up thinking that we still live this kind of lifestyle. You know what I mean?
In the Stone Age.
So it's a complicated topic, honestly.
It is. So with that, like another thing that I know, well, I feel like existed is a general idea is the language, right? So you mentioned that there's over 20 languages where you're from. And so
Yeah.
what other languages are spoken? Like what's maybe the most popular language that is spoken in Ghana?
Well, English is the official language, right? Because we're colonized by the British and stuff and all that. But then the next popular language apart from English is Akan. Akan is the largest ethnic group in Ghana. They are like 40% of the population in Ghana. And so it's very easy to pick up Akan. Also, we have Gonja, which is from my place. We have Dadani, we have Hausa. I don't know if you've heard of Hausa. It's a language that's spoken like in the north of Africa.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, so Akan, Gonja, Hausa, Dadani are the most common languages out there in Ghana.
And so, like, what kind of, I guess, alphabet or like word letter or word system is normally
No,
associated
we
with those
use
languages?
The Arabic alphabet.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it has the
yeah.
same sort of baselines, just obviously spoken differently.
Baseline, yeah. Like, for example, instead of saying A, B, C, D, in account, you would say A, B, C, that kind of pronunciation. So it's still the Arabic alphabet, either way.
Right. Okay. Okay. So with that, it is because people sort of categorize the continent as one place, and I won't do that, but I will acknowledge that there's 50 plus countries in Africa. If you could live in another African nation, what one would you live in other than Ghana?
Oh, that's a difficult question. Um, I think I would want to live in Kenya, probably, most probably in
Okay.
Kenya. Kenya is in East Africa. Because I just think that Kenya is beautiful. They have their own language as well. They have like Swahili, which is like a national language, you know what I mean? Apart from
Right.
English as well.
Right.
And yeah, I think I would like to live in Kenya or South Africa.
Oh, okay. And it's interesting because South Africa is always sort of seen on in the international spotlight, specifically for the situation that they had with apartheid, but then sort of like
Mm-hmm.
shifting, because one of the things that's interesting is in South Africa, there are white people and many, many generations of white people there. So that means there are
Yeah.
like white South Africans. And so it makes it weird. Like you think
Yeah,
Trevor Noah comes from a mixed family. Charlize
exactly.
Theron is South African as well. So
Yeah,
it makes it a little weird
yeah.
for some people to think they're white people from Africa.
White people, like, yeah, yeah. Because the thing is, like, the white people came to South Africa. The land was good, the weather was good, and they just chose to stay. They didn't leave. And so, yeah, like you said, there's like generations of white people, mostly people from the Netherlands, who just moved to South Africa and just made it their home. So we have white, so like white, blue-eyed, blonde South Africans.
Wow, like the stereotypical European
Yes,
is
yeah.
in Africa.
Yeah.
And so it actually leads to my next question of is racism an issue in Ghana now? We obviously I talked about South Africa, but Ghana is obviously different. It's up in the Horn. So
Yeah.
is racism an issue there?
No, not at all, because we are all the same color, bro. We are all the same color. And so I think I would say there is a bit of ethnicism, which is because we still have like ethnic groups, like I belong to a different ethnic group and you belong to another ethnic group. And you probably need a job, but then someone from my ethnic group also needs the same job. So I'll probably give the job to the person from my ethnic group. But those are like very rare cases, you know what I mean? We don't have racism on that level. Like we don't discriminate based on color and ethnicity that much. Not really. No, I wouldn't say we have racism. I don't think it's an issue like
And
at
it's
all.
interesting because I know it was obviously a film was made about it, and it's been documented a little bit about Rwanda and the movie Hotel Rwanda,
Yeah,
where you
yeah,
had the
yeah,
issue with the ethnic
yeah,
groups between the
yeah. With
Hutu
the
and the Tutsi.
Hutsis and the Tutsis, yeah.
Yeah, and so so I do wonder about that but I'm glad to hear that that's something that's not really there. So thinking outside and seeing some of the world problems that exist, thinking about now the positive side of the world, where when you were living in Ghana before leaving, where were like some of the ideal non-African nations that you were interested in either visiting or maybe studying or maybe even living?
I definitely wanted to go to England. I definitely wanted to go to England because, like I said, we have like the British system of education and all that, and we're colonized by the British. And so we always saw England as not a promised land, but like where you would want to go, go visit, go live life and stuff. I definitely wanted to visit England. That's like the number one country I wanted to go to.
Okay, cool.
Um, I know for some reason I never wanted to go to the States though. I don't know why. I just said, yeah. But I definitely wanted to visit England. I definitely wanted to visit South Africa because we also South Africa as like the jewel of Africa in terms of development, in terms of
Really?
technology. Yeah, yeah, and stuff. Like growing up, like back in Ghana, you know what I mean? Because we didn't really know the issues they had in South Africa. Like once in a while, we knew their history and everything, apartheid and Mandela and everything. But then we always thought that South Africa was like the paradise of Africa, you know what I mean? Till we grew up and we learned that no, it wasn't. That wasn't the case.
Yeah, it's serious what happens when you grow up and you get education or quote unquote education.
Yeah.
And so speaking of like history and education, what would you say are a few historic events or accomplishments that people should know about Ghana and Ghanaians in general?
I think Ghana was like the first country in Africa, if not in Africa, in West Africa, to gain independence. We gained independence in 1957. And it was led by a man called Kwame Nkrumah. I don't know if you've heard of Kwame Nkrumah. He had this idea of like having the whole of Africa as like a nation, like the United States. So instead of having countries, we'd have like states, you know what I mean? And we
Wow,
would have
okay.
like a single currency and all that. But he was assassinated and stuff. So Kwame Nkrumah is a very important figure in my country. I think the most important figure in my country. Also, Ghana was a very important location for the transatlantic slave trade. I'm sure you know that by now because our ports were used to like hold slaves in transit and then transport them to Europe and to the Americas and stuff as well. Also, what else? What else do we have historically? Oh, we won the FIFA World Cup, the FIFA Under 20 World Cup in
Really?
Egypt. In Egypt, yeah, we won it. I think that was
Awesome.
2010. I think we did that, and we are the largest producer of cocoa. I'm sure you know this. We share that with Ivory Coast, so we export the most cocoa in the world. And what else? What else? Oh, Bob Marley has a wife in Ghana called Marley. She lives in Ghana currently.
Really?
And Muhammad Ali, Martin Luther King, all of those guys visited Ghana at some point to visit Nkrumah and stuff. So Ghana has always had a history of important and relevant people coming down to visit for some reason. I don't know, just coming down to visit us.
And
Yeah,
and connecting to that, like I did some research on the year of the return because I
yeah,
just kept seeing it trend on social media,
yeah,
and it was a
yeah,
government initiative by President, I don't want to say his name, Akufu Addo, is that right?
yeah.
So, and he actually launched the initiative in September 2018 in Washington D.C. So he went
Yes,
to the
yeah.
capital of the United States and said, "Hey, you know what?
Yeah,
We want to deal with the diaspora and connect people through the diaspora back to the African continent." And the goal obviously was for tourism, but to settle and invest in Africa because there's, as a Black American, I know for sure one of the things is a lot of Black people like, oh, I'm gonna go back to Africa and so, and you just can't kind of roll up on a continent and just pick a country, like you look like the colonizers from before, so you have to like get some of your history behind that. And so what I saw, and I did it read the stats, Ghana saw an 18% tourism increase because of
yes,
this
yeah.
initiative. And so that's a ton of outside money invested in the country, which I think is really cool. And so I asked, so what is it like to be in Ghana as far as sports, music, food, movies, socializing, like regular life? What is it like there?
It's we love to party a lot back home, like a lot, like bro, like we love to party a lot. We love to have a peace of mind. And Ghana is mostly a Catholic nation. You know what I mean? So we have lots of holidays as well, just like Colombia, bro. But I think Colombia has the
Really?
most holidays.
Oh, wow. Yeah, Colombia has 18.
Yeah, so it's like, and people are really, really nice. Like people are so nice in Ghana. The food is amazing. And like back to the topic of the year of return, which I think it was an amazing initiative because like there's lots of black people out there in the diaspora who are like super successful, you know what I mean? And I think that once we as the black race in general, not just Africans or Americans or Canadians, once we come to the realization that Africa or Ghana or wherever you need to go, we have like fertile lands, we have like good ports, we have like lots of stuff. Once we think of things in this way, and we think of going back to invest back home, then people will start to see us differently. You know what I mean?
Amen. Amen.
You know what I mean? Because Africa has most of the world's resources, like most of the world's natural resources is down there in Africa. And once we as a black race just decide to go back home and invest, go buy houses, go start businesses, you know what I mean? People will start to look at us different. People wouldn't say, "Oh, so back in Ghana, you guys have electricity?" No, people wouldn't ask that question.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So I really think this year of return initiative was a really good call by the president of Ghana. And now other African nations are doing the same for the year 2020. Like in Nigeria, they are doing an initiative called the Door of Return, and they are literally building this huge structure that looks like a door in one of the slave castles or something, and they are preparing for people from the diaspora to come through.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah.
And so, like, if I was gonna go to Ghana and I wanted to watch a sporting event, what sporting events would I have the options to kind of like that are big?
You definitely watch football, bro. Football. Not American football, though, the original.
Right, soccer, football. Yeah, I got you.
Now, football is the biggest sport in Ghana. You definitely watch football. You watch some boxing as well because we've produced some boxing champions. We have like Azuma Nelson, who was a one-time world champion. We have Aikwate, who was a one-time world champion. So we box a lot as well in Ghana. And what else? Yeah, I think just football and boxing are the two major sports.
Okay. What about music? So what kind of music am I gonna hear? Because I mean, there's rock and roll in the United States, rap, alternative pop. So what's in Ghana?
You listen to Afro beats. You listen to high life. High life. It's a salsa-like rhythm, but just with like the African touch. And then you'd listen to hip life, which is like hip hop, but with the local languages. So you'd hear people rapping like with the same hip hop beat, same rhythm and stuff, but then in the local languages. It's called hip life.
Okay, is there like a form of rock and roll there? Because I mean, rock and roll has its roots sort of in former slave music. Is there any rock and roll in Ghana?
Not really. I mean, we listen to a lot of jazz as well. You know what I mean? But rock and roll, I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say we listen to a lot of rock and roll.
So food, because everyone they think with their stomach. And so they're like, what, when I come to Ghana, what am I going to eat? What is the first thing someone sticks in front of me? What else are they going to stick in front of me for food?
You eat the best jollof rice in your life. Best jollof rice. Have you heard of jollof rice?
No, what is that?
Jollof rice is a mixture of rice, fish, lots of delicious stuff. But then we make the same meal with Nigerians, and so there's always this war between Nigerians and Ghanaians about who makes the best jollof rice. You know that, but you eat the best jollof rice in Ghana, and we eat lots of rice, lots of maize products. You know, lots of plantain. You know what I mean? So you definitely eat jollof rice. You'd eat kenke. Kenke is made from maize that's allowed to like ferment and stuff. It's delicious. I have to show you. I have to show you.
Absolutely. I'm
And,
trying to taste all of that.
and lots of lots of spicy food. We eat lots of spicy food back home as well. Spicy but and tasty, you know, not just the Colombian ají spice, you know.
I understand, because that's just like put it on fire. Your tongue can't taste anything spicy. Nobody wants that.
Yeah, bro.
So,
Yeah,
so,
bro.
so
So
what about like movies and socializing? Like, what kind of stuff as far as that goes?
movies, we have our own movie industry that's called Dollywood for some reason, just to copy Hollywood. And oh, and we have some actors, lots of good actors who have like Ghanaian roots as well. Like Boris Kujo, you know Boris Kujo
Yes, yes.
is Ghanaian. There's this guy. Have you seen 300 Spartans?
No, is the movie 300 or 300 Spartans is the
300,
name?
yeah, the movie 300.
Yes, yes.
There's a black tall guy who is in 300.
Oh
I've
yeah.
I've forgotten his name. He's also from Ghana. Um, but we have our own movie industry. Obviously, they make like local movies and stuff. But then we watch lots of Hollywood as well, lots of American movies as well. Like, yeah, yeah, we watch lots of American movies and British movies. Oh, lots of British movies as well, because of the influence from our colonial masters, obviously.
Well, that kind of begs a question. I remember there was a quote from Martin Scorsese, the American director, that like comic book movies are not
Mhm.
cinema. Are there like comic book heroes and stuff like that there in Ghana that are like sort of folklorish, big in the social world?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, sir. We have a guy called Ananse, and Ananse is supposed to be a spider, right? He's called Ananse the spider. It's supposed to be the most cunning and intelligent character in Ghana. I think he's the most popular. He's called Ananse, spelled A-N-A.
Okay.
A-N-A-S-E. Ananse.
Spell it
Ananse the
one more
spider.
time.
Yes.
You said ANA.
A-N-A-N-S-E. Ananse.
All right. I'm definitely checking that out. And so, as far as socializing, like, so what does socializing look like? Do people go off for like happy hour for beers? Do they go bowling, skating? Like, what kind of stuff do they do to socialize?
It depends. It depends. Like down south, they you would find literally like a bar or a pub at every corner. But like up north, like for example, in my city, like I said, we have Muslims, like 50% Muslims and 50% Christians. Most people don't drink a lot in the north because because Muslims don't drink alcohol supposedly.
Right. Supposedly.
But then that's another story. But then down south, or like in Christian Catholic communities, yeah, people go out like Friday, Saturday, like bowling days, party days, nightclubs. We have festivals as well, lots of festivals. We have like a fire festival where it's crazy. People go out, play with fire, and just have fun, drink, and just have a good time as well. We have lots of festivals as well
When is the
again.
fire festival?
I think the fire festival is in December. It just went by in
Okay.
December.
And you said, you made me think about something because you said a lot of different events. What is fashion like there? Because everyone cares about fashion. And I'm curious about like what fashion is like for Ghana. Is it like mimicking other people or is it unique?
Now it's unique. It's really unique because in Ghana we are very colorful. Like on Sundays you would go to church and it's like a fashion. It's like a fashion show, bro. Like we have different fabrics. We like to mix lots of colors. Like you'd see someone looking like a rainbow, bro, and it's not his fault. He just wants to stand out. You know what I mean? No, because like traditionally, our fabrics are colorful, and we just try to incorporate. Like right now, they just try to incorporate everything into the modern world of fashion. So like you'd see lots of polo shirts with like African fabrics. You'd see lots of pants with like African fabrics. No, we really like fashion. I think we're on top of our fashion game. I think so.
Yeah, and I saw that there were for like in December specifically for the year of return, they had like 20 specific events, and they had something called Afro Chic,
Cella.
and it was like
Afrochella?
Afrochella. Yeah, that was it, Afrochella, like I guess like a Ghanaian Coachella, but it
Coachella.
and it
Yeah.
had it. Like, I saw it was one day it focused on music, fashion, art, all of that, and so I just think it's really cool that
Yeah.
they had something like that.
No, yes, and during the year of return, they had lots of events. They had like the Afro Nation event, they had like the Dirty Ray, they had like the Afrochella, and all this was happening like literally at the same time, bro. They had lots of big artists come through. Talking about that, Drake is going to Ghana in March as well to go
Oh,
to the
okay.
concert. March as well. So yeah, I think that's why I said that I think the Year of Return initiative was good because I think people are beginning to realize that hey, we can go have a concert in Ghana and still make our money. You know what I mean? Because these concerts were filled, like they were sold out concerts. You know, Rick Ross was out there, Cardi B was out there, and they were sold out concerts. So I think people are beginning to realize that oh, we can go out there and still make money just like playing a concert in the States or in Europe. You know what I mean? And that's good. That's good that people are beginning to come to this realization. Because Drake would never think of going to perform in a country in West Africa or Rick Ross or T.I. or Jay-Z, you know what I mean? But I think people are beginning to realize that there's potential and lots of potential out there.
Well, and I think it's also because, and I don't know if it's a direct reaction, but the Chinese have invested a ton of money in
Yes,
Africa,
yeah.
and because I know like Akon has gotten really famous for like the investment that he's brought in, but I know China has done a great deal of investment, so it makes sense in a sense for the president of an African nation to invite people from black people from the United States, but I mean white people have come as well to Ghana to invest in the country because basically it'll be all Chinese yuan in the country if and they'll flood the market if you don't necessarily diversify sort of the cash flow. And so from that, I think an interesting thing is while we're talking specifically about Ghana and the year return, and obviously you love your home, we're both here in Colombia. So I do ask the question because I mean it's not necessarily the elephant in the room to steal a pun, but so what intrigued you to come to Colombia?
To begin with, Colombia, like living in Colombia wasn't my plan. My initial plan was to just come feel the culture, you know, because I just finished watching Narcos, you know, the series Narcos and stuff.
Right.
Yeah. And and I was just really fascinated by the culture of Colombia, and I had a friend who was here. So my initial plan was just to come through for 6 months, you know, just travel around Colombia, see how it goes, and then go back to my country. But then I got here, and plans change and things change. And here we are.
I understand. I was only supposed to be here for 6 months too. So because we didn't really talk a ton about where you are, but so how would you describe Pasto? Because Pasto is a little bit off of the beaten path compared to the rest of like Colombia, because a lot of the Colombian cities are kind of like near coffee regions or near the coast, but Pasto is really close to Ecuador. So how would you sort of describe or characterize Pasto?
Pasco is a really peaceful city to begin with. I think it has about 600, 500,000 people living out here. It's it's out in the Andes Mountains. And we have a volcano out here, an active volcano out here. It's a really cool city, really peaceful. Um, Cold. It's a cold city, cold all year round. And like you said, it's down south. It's like 3 hours from the border, the Ecuadorian border. And it's a food basket for the country as well. I came to realize they produce lots of agricultural products from here. And it has lots of natural places to go to, like waterfalls, like mountains, like caves and stuff like that. But generally, it's a very peaceful and cheap city to live in.
Are there any similarities to Ghana from where you're from in Ghana and Pasto?
Not really, not really. I mean, it's a huge difference. I wouldn't say there's a lot of similarities between Ghana and Pastor, because I would say similarities between maybe Ghana and maybe some cities down the coast like Cartagena, Barranquilla. But no, Pasto is a lot more different. They have like this whole Inca indigenous feel. It has like this Inca indigenous feel to it. The food is different. I mean, the way of life is different. Apart from the only similarities that we have is there are Catholics out here as well, and back home we are Catholics as well. Apart from that, not really. There isn't much of similarities between Ghana and Pasto specifically, or between my city and Pasto. No, not really, because my city is hot to begin with. Like I said, it's Pasto is mountainous, Pasto is cold. We eat spicy food out here. Like out here, they don't even like nothing spicy. People here are really close to their families. Like I'm not saying back home we are not close to our families, but we are just more independent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Back
totally
home,
understand that.
yeah. So no, not really, not really.
And, the thing is, I don't know if it was it a little bit of a culture shock for you, because like, well, for instance, one of the things was, I mean, I studied history in school. I taught history as a teacher in the States, but so I knew that there were many Africans, in as far as the Atlantic slave trade, that came to South America. Brazil was number one, Colombia was number two, and so I knew there were Africans here. But like, my image of what a Colombian looked like never was a black person. And then when I arrived here, like in Bogota, there's not a ton of black people, because that's where that was our entry point. But then once you start to kind of spread out across the country, you start to see people looking like you. And so I went from a little bit of
Yeah.
a discomfort to a culture shock, and not because I didn't see black people, but because I saw them. And I was like, it was in my head that I knew they were here, but then I saw them and I was like, wow, it's different. Is that something that you experienced in Pasto, as far as like maybe racial demographics?
No, man, not really, not really, cause like I knew for some reason I knew they had like Afro-Colombians and stuff. Yeah, like for some reason I knew they had like Afro-Colombians. Of course, we would watch football games and you would see black people in like the Colombian national team.
Lots of them.
Yeah, like half of the team, literally.
Right.
And so no, I wasn't really shocked about that. What really shocked me was the way black people were treated out here. It was like every black community I visited was like a poor community. Was like they didn't have basic amenities. You know what I mean? Black people were seen as the minority out here. You know, like, that's what really shocked me, because I'm in the Afro-Colombians, and I thought that like they had like equal rights and stuff with the rest. of the people out here. But
Really?
what really shocked, yeah, but what really shocked me was like you would go to most of the black communities you would visit are just like poor, they don't have basic amenities, they're struggling, because there is a coast close here. It's called Tumaco. There's a little town called Tumaco that's like on the Pacific coast.
Right, right.
That's like 4 hours from Pasto, and you go to this town, and it's all dangerous. People are getting assassinated. You know what I mean? So that's what really shocked me. I didn't really think that black people would be treated like that badly, like just because they're black. You know what I mean? Because
And
that
the thing that, as far as talking about Colombia, because it's a great nation, I think a lot of the
it is,
outside
it is,
the
it's a
outside
beautiful
opinions about the
nation.
country are definitely off or mischaracterized. I think it does because of some of sort of worldwide media does have sort of that thing with color. Because at first, like, I mean, there's plenty of brown people here because they mix with
Yeah,
indigenous people and black people. So what to me, it also was a bit of a shock to see sort of black people seen in a different way. For example, like for me, when people didn't necessarily know where I was from, they would assume I was from a city called Choco, or I was from,
Choco,
or I was
yeah,
from Cali, or I was from the North
Ventura or
Coast.
Cali,
Right.
yeah.
Because that's where the black people are from, and so I don't think they do that to be malicious, because they still count those people as included into the culture, the Colombian culture. But it is something that does raise an eyebrow when you see that when the more brown you are, the community seems to have sort of a different feel to it, and that feels a little bit disappointing, because I think it's two sides to that. I think obviously there's the main government that plays a role, but then I think there is a role that is played by the black people. Maybe I don't know how, but I know there's a role because there is a degree of acceptance, I would say. I mean, obviously some people leave, but I think there's a degree of acceptance. So, but that's because it's ingrained in them. They don't know any better, and so I do hope that that's something that can be improved. You know what I mean?
Yeah, bro. Yeah, bro. I mean, I do hope so too. I guess that for me it was a huge shock. Like when I came here, I started to travel around, and like you'd get to the point and I'm like, oh, you're a black guy, you're traveling. We don't see most black people traveling. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, you guys have black people here. They're like, nah, the black people here they don't travel. They don't have a life of traveling. You know what I mean? But then, yeah, also I hope so, bro. I hope so. Maybe it's not like you said. Maybe it's not because they want to be malicious and stuff. But then maybe it's the way black people here have portrayed themselves and have
it,
acted. You know what I mean?
it's so many factors. I just I do I recognize racism as an issue, but classism I think is a more significant
Yeah,
one.
I think classism. Yeah.
Well, because there's brown people here, like they can't tell. There's families with literally, I've seen families where they have kids and two daughters, and one daughter is just the white version of the other daughter. Like they literally look the same, and one is just white skinned, and the other one is brown. So they can't necessarily be like full throated racist because their
Nah,
kid might
nah,
be
no,
brown,
no,
you
they
know.
can't.
So
Yeah.
I like to give the final thought and the final word to all the guests that choose to contribute their wonderful voice and knowledge to this podcast. So what I'll say is I'll say thank you to you for contributing. I'm going to say thank you to you for the information that you provided for Ghana and your insight on the year of the return. And then I leave the final thought with you of you can talk about anything you want. It could be Colombia, Ghana, it could be anything in the world, anything that's on your heart. But I leave the final word with you, and I thank you for being on.
No, well, thank you for having me. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to spread the word. You know what I would say is most people in the diaspora, especially most black people, should try visiting Africa. Try visiting Africa. Get the knowledge, first-hand knowledge. Don't let someone tell you what it's not and what it is. Try visiting home. It's beautiful, and get the knowledge firsthand and let's all try to make Africa a better place. Africa is the future, bro. It's the future. And thanks for having me. And yeah, word, bro. Word.